하이데요. 오늘은 해리포터의 첫 번째 책 마법사의 돌 챕터 2 The Vanishing Glass 사라진 유리에 대해서 함께 읽을 시간이에요. 네, 해리포터 and the Sorcerer's Stone 챕터 2 The Vanishing Glass 함께 읽어볼게요. 가장 먼저 단어와 표현들 살펴보고 또 핵심 문장들 살펴보고 큰 소리로 따라 읽는 시간을 가질 거예요. look 플러스 형용사 뭐뭐처럼 보이다. look like 플러스 명사 뭐뭐처럼 보이다. 차이점이 뭐죠? 한글 뜻은 뭐뭐처럼 보이다. 똑같지만 형태는 look만 나오면 형용사가 나와야 되고 명사를 쓰고 싶으면 반드시 like를 써서 look like 명사를 써야 된다라고 우리가 학교나 학원에서 문법 시간에 많이 배웠거든요. 그런데 우리 주엔 작가님이 Harry didn't look it, but he was very fast 라는 문장을 쓰셨어요. 해리는 그렇게 보이지 않았지만 매우 빨랐다. 처음에 이 문장을 읽었을 때 이제 한국식 문법을 한국에서 영어 문법을 열심히 공부했던 저는 좀 많이 당황했죠. Harry didn't look it? look it이 뭐야? look like it도 아니고 네 아니면 형용사 look fast 차라리 Harry didn't look fast, but he was very fast 라고 했으면 될 텐데 좀 약간 어색했어요. 읽으면서. 하지만 네 꼭 그렇게 우리가 문법이라는 것은 이제 규칙이고 원칙이긴 한데요. 이런 소설이나 다양한 글에서는 약간의 허용이 있긴 해요. 특히 이제 소설에서는 허용이 좀 더 되죠. 근데 문맥상 바로 이 시 가리키는 것이 무엇인지 알 수 있죠. 해리가 그렇게 보이지 않았지만 매우 빨랐다. 이 이야기는 해리가 빠르게 달리기를 잘할 것처럼, 왜냐면 해리는 매우 왜소하고 조금 키도 작고 힘이 없어 보이기 때문에 달리기를 하려면 어느 정도 에너지가 있어야 되잖아요. 그렇게 안 보였는데 엄청 빨랐다는 점을 강조하기 위해서 쓴 것 같아요. 그런데 look fast 한 다음에 또 he was very fast 이렇게 fast 두 번 쓰시긴 싫었던 것 같아요. Harry didn't look it, but he was very fast. 그래서 문법적으로는 look 다음에 반드시 형용사가 와야 된다는 점은 꼭 기억해 두시고요. 해리포터를 읽을 때는 작가님의 이런 좀 허용, 센스가 좀 발휘됐구나 라고 생각하면 돼요. look 플러스 형용사, look like 명사 꼭 기억해 두세요. look at, look for, look into, look after. 네, look에 관해서는 정말 많이 쓰여요. 해리포터에서도 굉장히 많이 나오거든요. 그래서 look up 하면 위를 쳐다보는 거고 look down은 아래를 쳐다보는 거고 look에다가 어떤 전치사냐 어떤 부사냐 쓰는 거에 따라서 정말 뜻이 다양하게 변해요. 그래도 가장 기본 뜻은 look 다음에 형용사 뭐뭐처럼 보이다고요. look at 다음에는 명사, 동명사 나올 수 있죠. 무엇을 보다, look for, 찾다, look into, 안쪽을 계속해서 들여다보는 거니까 조사하다라는 뜻이 되겠죠. look after라는 뜻이 재밌는데요. 저는 이걸 외울 때 자꾸 뒤를 돌아보는 거예요. 동생이 잘 따라오고 있는지 뒤를 돌아본다. 동생 좀 잘 돌보렴. 동생을 잘 살펴봐야지. 아니면 요즘엔 강아지나 고양이를 잘 돌볼 때도 look after 쓰거든요. 그럴 때 자꾸만 뒤를 돌아본다. after가 뒤잖아요. 그래서 look after는 돌보다 살피다 이렇게 외웠는데요. 이런 경우에도 쓰이네요. 해리포터에서는 I want you to look after the bacon. 네, 해리한테 뭘 돌보라고 했나요? 베이컨을 잘 돌보라고 했네요. 어떻게? 베이컨이 타지 않도록 우리 조카 해리를 잘 대해주기는커녕 완전 계단 밑에 구석진 찬장 방에 살게 하고 그리고 아침밥도 막 하라고 시키는 거예요. 그래서 이제 영미권 아침으로 가장 많이 먹는 게 에그 프라이하고 베이컨이죠. 프라이드 베이컨을 굽는 거를 이제 시키면서 I want you to look after the bacon. 베이컨 타지 않게 잘 살펴봐. 베이컨을 돌봐줘. 네, 그 표현이 재밌었어요. 그리고 지난 시간에 챕터 1에서 띵하고 형용사 어순을 주의하라고 했었는데요. Anything strange or mysterious 챕터 1에 나왔죠. 그리고 제가 알고 있는 유명한 상표 something special에 대해서도 얘기했는데요. 오늘 챕터 2에서는 everything perfect 이라고 나왔네요. 네, 퍼투니아 이모가 해리한테 막 다그치는 거예요. 소리를 지르죠. 오늘이 어떤 날인지 알아? 오늘은 저들 얘 생일이라고. 모든 게 완벽해야 돼 라고 하면서 everything perfect, 완벽한 모든 것 할 때 perfect everything 하지 않고 everything perfect 이라고 한다는 점 꼭 기억해 두세요. 부정부사, 부정문 만드는 부사 계속해서 강조할 건데요. 이번 챕터 2에도 hardly가 계속 나왔어요. hardly, rarely, barely, scarcely, seldom. a few, a little은 긍정의 의미고요. few나 little은 부정의 의미여서 부정부사처럼 부정문을 만든다는 점 꼭 기억해 두세요. 한번 큰 소리로 따라 해볼까요? hardly, rarely, barely, scarcely, seldom. 그리고 few나 little도 부정문을 만들어요. 그런데 하나 더 추가할게요. 챕터 2에서는 no longer도 나왔어요. 더 이상 뭐뭐하지 않는다 라는 뜻이에요. no longer는 no가 있기 때문에 그래도 부정문이라는 걸 알아맞추기가 좀 어렵진 않죠. 그런데 방금 앞에서 한 부정부사 5개 hardly, barely, scarcely, seldom, rarely 이런 아이들은 네, no나 not이 전혀 없기 때문에 문장 속에 슝슝 들어있으면 부정문인지 모르는 경우가 있어요. 그래서 꼭 따로 기억해둬야 해요. be used to 무엇에 익숙하다 라는 뜻이에요. be used to 명사가 오거나 동명사 ing가 오고요. be full of 무엇으로 가득 차다 라는 얘기예요. 정말 좀 우리 해리의 방이 어떤 상황인가요? 네, 한번 문장 볼까요? Harry was used to spiders because the cupboard under the stairs was full of them, and that was where he slept. 네, 해리가 자는 방에 대한 그 상황, 환경을 알아볼 수 있는 그런 문장이 딱 나왔어요. 좀 가슴 아프죠? 해리는 익숙하대요. 무엇에 익숙했냐면 spiders, 거미들이죠. 해리는 거미들에 익숙했어요. 왜냐하면 cupboard 찬장이죠. 어디 찬장인가요? Under the stair. 계단 밑에 있는 찬장이 그것들로 가득 찼기 때문이죠. 그것들, 댐이 뭐죠? Spiders죠. 거미들로 가득 찬 그런 찬장이 That was where he slept. 그가 잠을 자는 곳이기도 하대요. 와우, 정말 2층 집에서 해리의 방은 따로 없고 계단 밑에, 왜 계단 밑에 구석이 있잖아요. 구석진 곳에 보면 거기에 짐을 보관하고 작은 창고처럼 쓰이는 곳에 해리의 방이라고, 해리 너 여기서 자라고 했다는 거네요. 참, 해리의 부모님이 돌아가셨는데 이 사실을 알면 너무나 충격을 받겠죠. 네, 룸의 뜻 3가지 한번 알아보고 갈게요. 룸 하면 우리가 방이라는 뜻 잘 알죠? 1번 방, 뭐 bedroom, living room, 침실, 거실 할 때 룸이고요. 공간이란 뜻이 있고 또 여지나 여유라는 뜻까지 있어요. 3가지 뜻, 네, 다 연결해서 외울 수 있겠죠? 원래 방이라는 곳이 있으려면 공간이 있어야 되고 그 공간은 여유, 여기 공간이 부족해, 여유나 여지 이런 뜻도 될 수 있겠죠? by way of는 무엇을 경유하여, 무엇 대신에 라는 2가지 뜻이 있어요. 또 in case 다음에 주어 동사가 나오면 만일의 경우에 대비하여 라는 뜻이 있거든요. 한번 예문을 보면서 함께 살펴볼까요? 네, 챕터 2에 나온 실제 예문이죠. Comb your hair, he barked by way of a morning greeting. 머리나 빗어! 하고 아침 인사를 대신하여 소리를 버럭 지른 누구죠? 네, 버넌 이모부. 이모부 정말 나쁘네요. 세상에 착한 이모부들이 굉장히 많은데 이 이모부는 정말 나쁜 이모부 같아요. Comb your hair, he barked by way of a morning greeting. Harry, who could see a huge Dudley tantrum coming on, began wolfing down his bacon as fast as possible in case Dudley turned the table over. 네, 이 문장도 너무 좀 슬픈데요. 해리는 어떤 아이인지, 해리는 어떤 상황인지 설명해 주는 거예요. Who could see a huge Dudley tantrum coming on이 이제 컴마컴마로 되어 있죠. 사실 이거는 부연 설명, 보충 설명이고요. 해리는 began, 시작했습니다. 원래 올프는 뭐죠? 늑대? 올프? 뭔가 올프 다운 하면 막 우걱우걱 먹는 그런 장면이에요. His bacon, 그의 베이컨을 우걱우걱 먹기 시작했어요. 막 빠르게, as fast as possible, 가능한 빨리 베이컨을 막 입에 빨리빨리 넣은 거죠. 꿀꺽꿀꺽 삼킨 거죠. 왜 그런 걸까요? In case 뭐에 대비해서 더들리가 turn the table over. 헐. 더들리가 뭐 하는 거죠? 테이블을 뒤집을 것을 대비해서. 네. 더들리는 정말 말썽꾸러기, 정말 못돼 처먹은 아이. 그런데도 엄마 아빠는 오냐오냐 키우는 그런 아이죠. Harry who could see a huge deadly tantrum. 그래서 텐트럼은 말썽을 막 피는 거야. 막 그 억지 부리고 막 떼쓰고 그러는 거죠. 거대한 두들리의 그 떼씀이 다가오는 것을 보면서 그런 거죠. 어떤 상황이죠? 막 그 더들리가 자기 생일인데 생일 선물이 너무 적다고. 왜냐면 35개나 되고 40개가 다 되는데도 너무 작년에 비해서 2개나 적다고 막 난리법석 울고불고 난리를 치는 텐트럼을 하고 있으니까 해리는 빨리 일단 내 베이컨부터 먹자. 왜냐면 in case 더들리 turned the table over. 더들리가 테이블을 워낙 잘 뒤집어 엎었었나봐요. 여기서 더들리의 성격, 인성을 더 알아볼 수 있죠. 이런 사촌과 함께 살고 있는 해리 엄청 불쌍하죠. 단어들 더 살펴볼게요. unwrap이 나오는데요. wrap은 싸다. 우리 크린랩 이렇게 제품도 있죠. 뭔가 물건을 싸는 거, 포장을 하는 걸 뜻하고요. 거기에 on을 쓰면 on은 낫의 의미죠. 그래서 unwrap 하면 포장을 풀다 이런 뜻이에요. 그리고 cabbage는 양배추라는 뜻이죠. 양배추. 그리고 nasty는 역겨운이라는 뜻이고요. on the way to 하면 어디로 가는 도중에. 그래서 on the way to the zoo, 동물원으로 가는 도중에 이런 장면이 나오죠. The harder she tried to pull it over his head, the smaller it seemed to become. 네, 이 문장 정말 핵심 문장인데요. 더 비교급 하면 뭐뭐 하면 할수록 더욱 뭐뭐 하다. 강조 표현이에요. 뭐뭐 하면 할수록 더욱 뭐뭐 하다 라는 뜻은 글쓴이가 어떤 글을 쓴 작가님이나 글을 쓴 사람이 굉장히 강조하고 싶을 때 하는 표현인데요. 네. she는 이제 퍼투니아 이모죠. 이모가 try to 뭐뭐 하려고 애쓰는 거죠. pull it over his head. 그의 머리로 그것을 막 잡아당기려고 할수록 이제 더들리가 입던 낡은 오래된 그런 스웨터를 물려주려고 하는 거예요. 해리한테는 좋은 방도 주지 않고 창고 같은 방을 주고 옷도 새로 사주지 않아요. 더들리가 입던 낡은 옷. 근데 더들리는 해리보다 몸이 4배나 about 4 times 4배 정도 대략 4배 정도나 큰 아이인데 얼마나 스웨터가 크겠어요. 근데 그 스웨터가 신기하게 해리 머리에다가 집어넣으면 열심히 더 넣으면 넣을수록 the smaller 더 작아지는 거예요. 너무 신기하죠. 그래서 harder는 try harder에 있는 거고요. smaller는 become smaller에 연결되는 거겠죠. 어순을 바꿨어요. 더 비교급이란 장치를 이용해서 강조하는 표현이라는 거죠. 해석은 뭐뭐 하면 할수록 더욱 뭐뭐 하다 라고 하면 되고요. 네, slide, slid, swear, swore, sworn 함께 큰 소리로 따라해 볼까요? 다짐하다, 선언하다 라는 뜻 swear, swore, sworn이고요. 슬라이드는 슬라이딩, 미끄러지다죠. 슬라이드, 슬릿. 그리고 swear, swore, sworn, 다짐하다, 선언하다, 자신의 말이 진실이라고 맹세하다 이런 뜻도 있어요. As the snake slid swiftly past him, Harry could have sworn a low, hissing voice said, Brazil, here I come. Thanks, amigo. 네, 뱀이 재빠르게 미끄러져 가면서 past him, 그를 지나쳐서 미끄러져 가면서 뭐라고 말을 했나요? 브라질아, 내가 간다. 고맙다, 친구. 네, 이렇게 말을 했는데요. 네. 해리가 분명히 들었다고 맹세할 수 있다 이 이야기죠. low, 낮은, hissing은 슉 하는, 뱀이 원래 슉 지나가잖아요. 낮고 슉 하는 소리로 말했다는 거죠. 네, 해리가 정말 큰 일을 했죠. 이런 사라진 유리, 그 유리관 안에 갇혀있던 보아 컨스트럭터가 베니싱 글래스가 돼버리니까 유리가 사라지니까 이제 자신의 고향 브라질에 가보는 거죠. 그럼 지금까지 단어와 표현들 살펴봤는데요. Read after me, 큰 소리로 함께 따라 읽어봐요. Chapter 2, The Vanishing Glass. Nearly 10 years had passed since the Dudley had woken up to find their nephew on the front step. But Privet Drive had hardly changed at all. The sun rose on the same tidy front gardens and lit up the brass number 4 on the Dudley's front door. It crept into their living room, which was almost exactly the same as it had been on the night when Mr. Dudley had seen that fateful news report about the owls. Only the photographs on the mantelpiece really showed how much time had passed. 10 years ago, there had been lots of pictures of what looked like a large pink beach ball wearing different colored bonnets. But Dudley Dudley was no longer a baby, and now the photograph showed a large blond boy riding his first bicycle on a carousel at the fair, playing a computer game with his father, being hugged and kissed by his mother. The computer game with his father, being hugged and kissed by his mother. The room had no sign at all that another boy lived in the house too. Yet Harry Potter was still there, asleep at the moment, but not for long. His Aunt Petunia was awake, and it was her shrill voice that made the first noise of the day. Up! Get up! Now! Harry woke up startled. His aunt rapped on the door again. Up! She screeched. Harry heard her walking toward the kitchen and then the sound of the frying pan being put on the stove. He rolled onto his back and tried to remember the dream he had been having. It had been a good one. There had been a flying motorcycle in it. He had a funny feeling he had the same dream before. His aunt was back outside the door. Are you up, Ed? She demanded. Nearly, said Harry. Well, get a move on. I want you to look after bacon, and don't you dare let it burn. I want everything perfect on Dudley's birthday. Harry groaned. What did you say? His aunt snapped through the door. Nothing, nothing. Dudley's birthday. How could he have forgotten? Harry got slowly out of bed and started looking for socks. He found a pair under his bed, and after pulling a spider off one of them, put them on. Harry was used to spiders because the cupboard under the stairs was full of them, and that was where he slept. When he was dressed, he went down the hall in the kitchen. The table was almost hidden beneath old Dudley's birthday present. It looked as though Dudley had gotten the new computer he wanted, not to mention the second television and the racing bike. Exactly why Dudley wanted a racing bike was a mystery to Harry, as Dudley was very fat and hated exercise. Unless, of course, it involved punching somebody. Dudley's favorite punching bag was Harry, but he couldn't often catch him. Harry didn't look it, but he was very fast. Perhaps it had something to do with living in a dark cupboard, but Harry had always been small and skinny for his age. He looked even smaller and skinnier than he really was because all he had to wear were old clothes of Dudley's, and Dudley's was about 4 times bigger than he was. Harry had a thin face, knobbly knees, black hair, and bright green eyes. He wore round glasses held together with a lot of Scotch tape. Because of all the time Dudley had punched him on the nose, the only thing Harry liked about his own appearance was a very thin scar on his forehead that was shaped like a bolt of lightning. He had had it as long as he could remember, and the first question he could ever remember asking his Aunt Petunia was how he had gotten it. In the car crash when your parents died, she had said, and don't ask questions. Don't ask questions. That was the first rule for a quiet life with the Dursleys. Uncle Vernon entered the kitchen as Harry was turning over the bacon. Comb your hair, he barked, by way of a morning greeting. About once a week, Uncle Vernon looked over the top of his newspaper and shouted that Harry needed a haircut. Harry must have had more haircuts than the rest of the boys in his class put together, but it made no difference. His hair simply grew that way all over the place. Harry was frying eggs by the time Dudley arrived in the kitchen with his mother. Dudley looked a lot like Uncle Vernon. He had a large pink face, not much neck, small, watery blue eyes, and thick blonde hair that lay smooth on his deep, fat head. Aunt Petunia often said that Dudley looked like a baby angel. Harry often said that Dudley looked like a pig in a wig. Harry put the plate of egg and bacon on the table, which was difficult as there wasn't much room. Dudley, meanwhile, was counting his presents. His face fell. 36, he said, looking up at his mother and father. That's two less than last year. Darling, you haven't counted Auntie Marge's present. See, it's here under this big one from Mommy and Daddy. All right, 37 then, said Dudley, going red in the face. Harry, who could see a huge Dudley tantrum coming on, Bacon wolfing down his bacon as fast as possible in case Dudley turned the table over. Aunt Petunia obviously sensed the danger too, because she said quickly, "And we'll buy you another two presents while we are out today. How's that, Pumpkin? Two more presents, is that all right?" Dudley thought for a moment. It looked like hard work. Finally, he said slowly, "So I'll have 39, sweetness," said Aunt Petunia. Oh, Dudley sat down heavily and grabbed the nearest parcel. "All right then," Uncle Vernon chuckled. "Little Techie wants his money's worth, just like his father." "At the boy, Dudley!" He ruffled Dudley's hair. At that moment, the telephone rang, and Aunt Petunia went to answer it while Harry and Uncle Vernon watched Dudley unwrap the racing bike. A video camera, a remote control airplane, 16 new computer games, and a VCR. His, he was ripping the paper of a gold wristwatch when Aunt Petunia came back from the telephone looking both angry and worried. "Bad news, Vernon," she said. "Mrs. Biggs broken her leg. She can't take him." She jerked her head in Harry's direction. Dudley's mouth fell open in a horror, but Harry's heart gave a leap. Every year at Dudley's birthday, his parents took him and a friend out for the day to adventure parks, hamburger restaurants, or the movies. Everywhere Harry was left behind with Mrs. Piggy, a mad old lady who lived 6 streets away. Harry hated it there. The whole house smelled of cabbage, and Mrs. Pig made him look at photographs of all the cats she ever owned. "Now what?" said Aunt Petunia, looking furious at Harry as though he'd planned this. Harry knew he ought to feel sorry that Mrs. Piggy had broken her leg, but it wasn't easy when he reminded himself it would be a whole year before he had to look at Tibbles, Snowy, Mr. Paul, and Tuffy again. "We could phone Margie," Uncle Vernon suggested. "Don't be silly, Vernon. She hates the boy." The Dudley often spoke about Harry like this, as though he wasn't there, or rather, as though he was something very nasty, and Dad couldn't understand them like a slug. "What about what's her name, your friend, Rhiannon? On vacation in Majorca," snapped Aunt Petunia. "You could just leave me here," Harry put in hopefully. He'd able to watch what he wanted on television for a change, and maybe even go on Dudley's computer. Aunt Petunia looked as though she'd just swallowed a lemon. "And come back and find the house in ruins?" she snarled. "I won't blow up the house," said Harry, but they weren't listening. "I suppose we could take him to the zoo," said Aunt Petunia slowly, "and leave him in the car." "That car's new. He's not sitting in it alone." Dudley began to cry loudly. In fact, he wasn't really crying. It had been years since he'd really cried. But he knew that if he screwed up his face and well, his mother would give him anything he wanted. Dinky Dum, don't cry. Mommy won't let him spoil your special day, she cried, flinging her arms around him. I don't want him to come, Dudley yelled between Hugh's pretended sobs. He always spoils everything. He shot Harry a nasty grin through the gap in his mother's arm. Just then the doorbell rang. Oh, good Lord, they are here, said Aunt Petunia frantically, and a moment later Dudley's best friend, Pierce Perkins, walked in his mother. Pierce was a scrawny boy with a face like a rat. He was usually the one who held people's arms behind their backs while Dudley hit them. Dudley stopped pretending to cry at once. Half an hour later, Harry, who couldn't believe it his luck, was sitting in the back of Dudley's car with Pierce and Dudley, on the way to the zoo for the first time in his life. His aunt and uncle hadn't been able to think of anything else to do with him, but before they'd left, Uncle Vernon had taken Harry aside. I'm warning you, he had said, putting his large purple face right up close to Harry's. I'm warning you now, boy, and any funny business, anything at all, and you will be in the cupboard from now until Christmas. I'm not going to do anything, said Harry, honestly, but Uncle Vernon didn't believe him. No one ever did. The problem was strange things often happened around Harry, and it was just no good telling the Dudley he didn't make them happen. Once, Aunt Petunia, tired of Harry coming back home from Barbara's looking as though he hadn't been at all, had taken a pair of kitchen scissors and cut his hair so short he was almost bald except for his bangs, which she left to hide that horrible scar. Dudley had left himself silly at Harry, who spent a sleepless night imagining school the next day, where he was already left at for his baggy clothes and tapped glasses. Next morning, however, he had gotten up to find his hair exactly as it had been before. Aunt Petunia had sheared it off. He had been given a week in his cupboard for this, even though he had tried to explain that he couldn't explain how it had grown back so quickly. Another time, Aunt Petunia had been trying to force him into a revolting old sweater of Dudley's, brown with orange purple. The harder she tried to pull it over his head, the smaller it seemed to become, until finally it might have fitted a hand puppet, but certainly wouldn't fit Harry. Aunt Petunia had decided it must have shrunk in the wash, and to his great relief, Harry wasn't punished. On the other hand, he'd gotten into terrible trouble for being found on the roof of the school kitchen. Dudley's gang had been chasing him as usual, when as much to Harry's surprise as anyone else, he was sitting on the chimney. The Dudley had received a very angry letter from Harry's headmistress telling them Harry had been climbing school building, but all he tried to do, as he shouted at Uncle Vernon through the locked door of his cupboard, was jump behind the big trash cans outside the kitchen door. Harry supposed that the wind must have caught him in mind jump, but today nothing was going to go wrong. It was even worse being with Dudley and Pierce to be spending the day somewhere that wasn't school, his cupboard, or Mrs. Piggy's cabbage-smelling living room. While he drove, Uncle Vernon complained to Aunt Petunia. He liked to complain about things, people at work, Harry, the council, Harry, the bank, and Harry were just a few of his favorite subjects. This morning it was a motorcycle, roaring along like a maniac. The young hoodlum, he said. As the motorcycle overtook them, I had a dream about motorcycles, said Harry. Remembering suddenly, it was flying. Uncle Vernon nearly crashed into the car in front. He turned right around in his seat and yelled at Harry, his face like a gigantic beast with a mustache. Motorcycle don't fly! Dudley had Pierce sniggered. I know they don't, said Harry. It was only a dream. But he wished he hadn't said anything. If there was one thing she Dudley hated even more than his asking questions, it was his talking about anything acting in a way it shouldn't, no matter if it was in a dream or even a cartoon. They seemed to think he might get dangerous ideas. It was very sunny Saturday and the zoo was crowded with families. The Dudley both the Dudley bought Dudley and Pierce large chocolate ice cream at the entrance, and then, because the smiling lady in the van had asked Harry what he wanted for Paul, they could hurry him away. They bought him a cheap lemon ice pop. It wasn't bad either. Harry thought, licking it as they watched the gorilla scratching its head, who looked remarkably like Dudley, except that it wasn't blonde. Harry had the best morning he had in a long time. He was careful to walk a little way apart from the Dudley, so that Dudley and Pierce, who was starting to get bored with the animals by lunchtime, wouldn't fall back on their favorite hobby of hitting him. They ate in the Jew restaurant, and when Dudley had a tantrum because his Knickerbocker Glory didn't have enough ice cream on top, Uncle Vernon bought him another one, and Harry was allowed to finish the first. Harry felt afterward that he should have known it was all too good to last. After lunch they went to the reptile house. It was cool and dark in there, with lit windows all along the wall. Behind the glass, all sorts of lizards and snakes were crawling and slithering over bits of wood and stone. Dudley Pierce wanted to see huge, poisonous cobras and thick, man-crushing pythons. Dudley quickly found the largest snake in the place. It could have wrapped its body twice around Uncle Vernon's car and crushed into a trash can. But at the moment it didn't look in the mood. In fact, it was fast asleep. Dudley stood with his nose pressed against the glass, staring at the glistening brown coils. "Make him move!" he whined at his father. Uncle Vernon tapped on the glass, but the snake didn't budge. "Do it again!" Dudley ordered. Uncle Vernon rapped the glass smartly with his knuckle, but the snake just snoozed on. "This is boring!" Dudley moaned. He shuffled away. Harry moved in front of Tank and looked intently at the snake. He wouldn't have been surprised if it had died of boredom itself. No company except stupid people drumming their fingers on the glass trying to disturb it all day long. It was worse than having a cupboard as a bedroom, where the only visitor was Aunt Petunia hammering on the door to wake you up. At least it got to visit the rest of the house. The snake suddenly opened his beady eyes slowly, very slowly. It raised its head until its eyes were on a level with Harry's. It winked. Harry stared. Then he looked quickly around to see if anyone was watching. They weren't. He looked back at the snake and winked too. The snake jerked his head toward Uncle Vernon and Dudley, then raised its eye to the ceiling. It gave Harry a look that said quite plainly, "I get that all the time." "I know," Harry murmured through the glass. Though he wasn't sure the snake couldn't hear him, it must be really annoying. The snake nodded vigorously. Where do you come from, anyway?" Harry asked. The snake jabbed its tail at a little sign next to the glass. Harry peered at it. "Boa constrictor, Brazil." "Was it nice there?" The boa constrictor jabbed his tail at the sign again, and Harry read on. "This specimen was bred in the zoo." "Oh, I see. So you've never been to Brazil." As the snake shook its head, a deafening shout behind Harry made both of them jump. "Dudley! Mr. Dudley! Come and look at this snake! You won't believe what's doing!" Dudley came waddling toward them as fast as he could. "Out of the way, you!" he said, punching Harry In the ribs, caught by surprise, Harry fell hard on the concrete floor. What came next happened so fast no one saw how it happened. 1 second, Pierce and Dudley were leaning right up close to the glass. Next, they had leapt back with howls of horror. Harry sat up and gasped. The glass front of the boa constrictor's tank had vanished. The great snake was uncoiling itself rapidly, slithering out onto the floor. People throughout the reptile house screamed and started running for the exit. As the snake slid swiftly past him, Harry could have sworn a loud, hissing voice said, "Brazil, here I come. Thanks, amigo." The keeper of Reptile House was in shock. "But the glass," he kept saying. "Where did the glass go?" The Jew director himself made Aunt Petunia a cup of strong, sweet tea while he apologized over and over again. Pierce and Dudley could only gibber. Pierce and Dudley could only gibber. As far as Harry had seen, the snake hadn't done anything except snap playfully at their heel as it passed. But by the time they were all back in Uncle Vernon's car, Dudley was telling them how it had nearly bitten off its leg, while Pierce was swearing it had tried to squeeze him to death. But worst of all, for Harry at least, was Pierce calming down enough to say, "Harry was talking to it, weren't you, Harry?" Uncle Vernon waited until Pierce was safely out of the house before starting on Harry. He was so angry he could hardly speak. He managed to say, "Go, couple, stay, no meals," before the heat collapsed into a chair and Aunt Petunia had to run and get him a large brandy. Harry lay in his dark cupboard much later, wishing he had a watch. He didn't know what time it was and he couldn't be sure Dudley were asleep yet. Until they were, he couldn't risk sneaking to the kitchen for some food. He'd lived with the Dudleys almost 10 miserable years. As long as he could remember, ever since he'd been a baby and his parents had died in the car crash. He couldn't remember being in the car when his parents had died. Sometime, when he strained his memory during long hours in his cupboard, he came up with a strange vision. A blinding flash of green light and a burning pain on his forehead. This, he supposed, was the crash. Though he couldn't imagine where all the green light came from, he couldn't remember his parents at all. His aunt and uncle never spoke about them. And of course, he was forbidden to ask questions. There were no photographs of them in the house. When he had been younger, Harry had dreamed and dreamed of some unknown relation coming to take him away, but it had never happened. The Dudley were his only family, yet sometimes he thought, or maybe hoped, that strangers in the street seemed to know him. Very strange strangers they were, too. A tiny man in a violet top hat had bowed to him once while out shopping with Aunt Petunia and Dudley. After asking Harry furiously if he knew the man, Aunt Petunia had rushed them out of the shop without buying anything. A wild-looking old woman dressed all in green had waved merrily at him once on a bus. A bald man in a very long purple coat had actually shaken his hand in the street the other day and then walked away without a word. The weirdest thing about all these people was the way they seemed to vanish the second Harry tried to get a close look. At school, Harry had no one. Everybody knew that Dudley's gang hated that old Harry Potter and his baggy old clothes and broken glasses, and nobody liked to disagree with Dudley's gang. 네, 챕터 2, The Vanishing Glass 함께 큰 소리로 따라 읽어봤는데요. 네, 정말 reptile house, 네, 파충류관에 동물원에 보면 파충류관이라고 해서 뱀도 있고 또 도마뱀도 있고 여러 가지 파충류들이 있는 공간이 있죠. 파충류들이 좋아하는 환경이 좀 어둡고 축축한 분위기여서 그렇게 따로 reptile 하우스가 마련되어 있는데요. 거기에서 엄청 큰 보아뱀을 봤죠. 그런데 아이들, 그리고 더들리를 포함한 아이들이 보아뱀을 구경하려고 하는데 보아뱀은 맨날 잠만 자는 거예요. 그래서 막 그 수족관 유리를 막 두드리고 소리를 쳐도 보아뱀은 꿈쩍도 안 하죠. 그러다가 해리가 마음속으로 이야기를 하죠. 정말 너 너무 지겹겠다, 힘들겠다, 나랑 똑같은 처지네 라고 공감을 하자 갑자기 보아뱀이 일어나가지고 눈을 떠가지고 슉 올라와서 눈높이를 맞추죠. 그리고 윙크까지 해요. 그러면서 대화를 나누죠. 해리는 보아뱀과 대화를 나눌 수 있는 능력이 있는 거죠. 그래서 브라질 출신인데 브라질에서 태어나자마자 이곳 동물원으로 와서 자랐기 때문에 브라질을 한 번도 못 가봤다는 사실을 알게 되죠. 그래서 해리가 되게 안타까워하는데 갑자기 유리가 사라지고 보아뱀이 뛰쳐나가요. 그러면서 해리한테 한마디 말을 하죠. 브라질, here I come. Thanks, amigo. 이러죠. 브라질이요. 내가 간다. 고맙다, 친구. 에미고는 아미고 이렇게 말하는데 에미고 스페인어로 친구, friend의 뜻이죠. 고맙다, 친구. 이러면서 보아뱀이 탈출하는데 이걸 또 너들리 친구 피어스가 버논 삼촌한테 일러가지고 해리가 뱀하고 이야기 나누는 것 같았어요. 라고 해서 또 찬장방에 밥도 못 먹고 굶은 채로 같이 있는 장면으로 챕터 2가 끝나네요. 네, 챕터 1에 이어서 챕터 2까지 읽어봤는데요. 다음 시간 챕터 3 또 어떤 내용일지 궁금해지네요. 다음 시간에 또 만나요. Thank you for listening. Catch you soon. Catch you later. Bye bye.